Plaintiff Trinity Chapman says she was hired to babysit the defendant's 2 children, but she claims after she quit, the defendant refused to pay her. Trinity's suing for the unpaid wages and emotional distress. Defendant Janae Nora admits that she hired Trinity to watch her kids, but she insists she quit and moved away without notice, leaving Janae without childcare. Janae insists she doesn't owe Trinity anything, and she's countersuing for the cost of plane tickets.
Start with you.
I didn't grow up with an easy childhood. I grew up with my mom, and my father actually was murdered when I was very young. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and it's just a lot going on in New York. So I grew up with my mom. It wasn't always easy because we're similar, so we butted heads a lot. And
You still live in Buffalo?
yes, no, I live in Atlanta now. I reside in Atlanta. So I moved to Washington with my cousin in December to help her with my godkids because she wanted some help and I needed a change of scenery, and I decided to go. I ended up opening up a nanny service where I watched the defendant's 2 sons, and
What were the fees?
our agreement was $1,300 a month to watch both of them Monday through Fridays.
It went up that high, huh?
It wasn't that my prices are good for 2 children. $1,300 is pretty good.
Okay. Go ahead.
So yeah, I was watching her children, and something ended up happening with my cousin. We ended up getting into it, and I felt unwelcome, and I decided that I needed to go back home, and I wanted to get my own apartment and get my own car because I didn't have that when I moved there. And once I got there, the defendant agreed up until the day I left that she would be paying me the $1,300, and she did not. I grew up with my mom, and my father actually was murdered when I was very young. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and it's just a lot going on in New York. So I grew up with my mom. It wasn't always easy because we're similar, so we butted heads a lot. And
You still live in Buffalo?
yes, no, I live in Atlanta now. I reside in Atlanta.
Defendant Janae Nora hired the plaintiff to babysit her children, but she claims the plaintiff quit and moved away without notice, leaving her without childcare.
Okay, let me hear from you.
Your Honor, I grew up in a military household. I'm an Army brat, and I'm now a Navy spouse. In 21, I relocated from Japan with my 2 children to the state of Washington, and there was a wait list for 1 child for 18 months for childcare. I have 2 children, so when I came across Trinity on social media through her cousin.
When?
In December. Okay. That is correct.
Of 21?
Of 21, yes.
All right, go ahead.
And when I came across her, she started a few date nights. She would watch them. It was no problem. Well, when I started a job for the state of Washington, I hired Trinity on a full-time basis. She did give me her resume, which she drew up with her hours on them, and we came up with an agreement of $1,300 a month. That agreement included 2 date nights per month or 1 overnight. So I don't have regular hours, like a typical 9 to 5, 8 to 5, and neither does my spouse. This was something that went into the agreement because it was flexible for both of us. This agreement was contingent upon Trinity staying the allotted time. Trinity gave me a date on March. If you look in the evidence, it was on March 10th that Trinity texted me, March 10th, I'm sorry. She texted me and let me know that her and her cousin had gotten to some type of disagreement and that she would be leaving. This was not the agreement that we had come to, and it was abrupt. On 3/10, I picked Trinity up that morning.
She's missing a part in that.
Hold on. I'm reading. Go ahead.
Okay. On 3/10, I picked Trinity up from her cousin's house and brought her to my house with all of her belongings. I offered Trinity several times a place to stay. I had an extra bedroom that was available. She would be a live-in nanny, and I would pay her, the continued amount. She continuously denied. On 3/10 is when Trinity told me she was leaving the very next day. So you can see the time frames at about 11:45 a.m. is when I realized she was leaving the next day, and there was no prior notice to this. And Trinity left on 3/11. That was when she left, and the agreed date was was for her to stay until the 15th, and that was not fulfilled. She started working for me on February 22nd.
Last day, 15th.
So the agreement was $1,300 a month, paid bi-weekly, $650 bi-weekly. And once I started my new job, they did not enroll me in the direct deposit process soon enough. So they mailed me out what's considered a live check, which went to my home in Texas, which is my home of record. Once I got that money, it was past the date for me to pay Trinity, but this was not anything doing with her leaving. We had never discussed her leaving prior to this. So the agreement was $650 paid bi-weekly, and she started working for me on February 22nd. Her last day was March 10th. And that came down to me paying her $845 because she left early.
Now, what dates does that accommodate or amount?
That's February 22nd through March 10th. Yes,
Okay, no, but per week, 5 days?
Yeah, so it was based off a 5-day period. We did not get a date night, and we did not get an
she
overnight.
She left your business March 10th?
Yes, that was the last day she worked for me.
Okay, let me hear from you, ma'am. How?
Can I start off with saying she's saying that they did not receive a date night. The reason why we came up with this $1,300 a month agreement is because she asked me to babysit her children for a date night, overnight actually. And
That's pretty high, $1,300.
yeah, that's for the total, including the date night. That was not my original pay, like how much I charged for Monday
you told me
through
how
Friday.
much you charge.
I don't actually have it, but I don't pay that. I don't charge that much.
You told me how much you charge.
Oh yeah, I charged her that. That was our agreement.
Right, well, that's what we talking about
right,
today.
okay, so
her.
the reason why we came up with this agreement is because she had an overnight date that she wanted to go out with her wife, and I agreed, and she didn't like the amount that I was charging, and she came up with this agreement of $1,300 a month that accommodated her and her wife, and I said that was fine. So she did receive a date night because she's claiming that she didn't, but so the agreement was she would be paying me the 1st and the 15th of every month. That's the days that she was supposed to be getting paid. So the first comes, I ask, if you look at the evidence, the first comes around and she's supposed to be paying me. I text her on the 2nd. On
February.
Page 5 shows you. I text
February?
her March 2nd. I text her and I said, hey, Janae, what app do you want to make your payment? Because it's the day after that she's supposed to be making her payment. She tells me that she asked me if Zelle was good for me, but she ended up telling me that she misplaced a check and that she would not be able to pay me. It says, is it okay if she pays me on the 10th, $1,000? On the 10th, mind you, I left the 11th. I did not receive a payment until the 15th. She asked me, this is the first payment I've ever received from her other than date nights.
She asked you,
She asked me if she could pay me on the 10th.
And did she?
No.
Defendant Janae Nora hired the plaintiff to babysit her children, but she claims the plaintiff quit and moved away without notice, leaving her without childcare.
She didn't pay you on the 10th?
No.
Okay, that's
Then she asked me, she ended up telling me her dates were the 10th.
And that was for the 2 weeks or for the entire month?
Yes, it's for the 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, she was supposed to pay me on the 1st and the 15th.
$1,300?
No.
Or $650?
$650, yes, sir.
Right.
So she, the second comes around. I ask her how she wants to make her payment. She tells me that how much she's going to be paying me on the 10th and the 25th because her check is misplaced. And instead of her paying me how much, the $650 on the days that she was supposed to pay me, she asked me if she could do $1,000 instead on the 10th.
I see it.
Yeah, she asked that. So the 10th comes around and she had not paid me. I left on the 11th of March.
And she still hasn't?
Yeah, she didn't pay me until March 15th. I left March 11th.
Well, she did pay you.
She paid me March 15th instead of March 10th. So she asked me if
has she not paid you? That's why we're here.
So she hasn't paid me. So we were supposed to do $1,300. She told me she would send me the $1,000. Never got that.
$1,300 for the month.
Right. She told me she would pay me the $1,000 on the 10th. I never received that.
What dates did you work and not receive money? That's what we're here for.
I started working for her February 22nd.
That you haven't received money for.
Okay, so the dates, I started watching her. I'm trying to tell you how the our dates work. So I started watching the 22nd. Her first payment should have been the 25th.
I need to know what days you have worked where she has not paid you. You're having a problem here, so I'm about to dismiss your case. I'm going to ask you one more time. What days did you work and she has not paid you for?
She did not pay me 464 of the 1,300.
What dates?
We don't have days that we...
You don't have dates that you kept the children. Last time, what dates did you work that you have not been paid for?
I'm sorry, Judge. Once she missed her first payment...
Okay, your counterclaim is for what?
$888.
How so?
When Trinity left, I had to outsource for childcare, which meant getting childcare elsewhere. And like I said, in the state of Washington, it was not of abundance. Did
you all have an agreement to do that?
Agreement to do what, Your Honor?
What is you referring to? What's your counterclaim?
Oh, she left. I had no other communication with her.
And before, was there an agreement?
The agreement was for her to stay. The agreement was for her to stay, Your Honor, and she did not stay.
Okay, and how does she owe you for the plaintiff?
Because since she did not stay, I had to go find childcare. I had to fly childcare.
Right, and did she agree to stay until you...
No.
Okay, she has every right to leave. What are you talking about?
The agreement was for her to stay until the 15th.
I understand. We're talking about plane tickets.
Yes. So
okay, I'm going to dismiss your claim. Her quitting her job has nothing to do with you flying somebody in on a plane. What does she have to do with that? She can quit her job anytime she wants, and she don't owe you a dime once she quits her job. Now, how much do you believe you owe?
I don't owe her anything.
Okay, and that's what you get, ma'am, nothing. You had a total inability to explain your case. Both your claims are dismissed. Have a good day, ladies.
You should stick to your word, and I hope you find childcare and you learn how to treat people.
When you leave your job, you don't get paid. That's how it works in the real world.